On December 13th, the Houston Rockets season looked like it was dead in the water. They were 14th in the standings of a stacked Western Conference. The defense that propelled them last year was a stinky 27th in defensive rating, and the moves they made over the summer did not go as planned, even though that part was expected by many people. Fortunes began to change, however, when James Harden started taking his offensive capabilities to another level, and then took it another notch higher when Chris Paul went down with a hamstring injury against the Miami Heat. Now, the Rockets are a game and a half back of the third seed in the Western Conference, and Harden is quickly making what was once a one-man MVP race into a potential nail-biter when the season winds down. This is Sly Hooper, and in today's video, we are going to dive into the offensive brilliance that has been put on display this season by James Edward Harden Jr.
Murray and Harden. Hides licking his chops. He fell down at time.
James Harden has been an absolute monster since December 13th, and he is kind of stretching the boundaries of how offensive basketball is being played right now. In his last 18 games, and thankfully I recorded this after I watched Harden drop back-to-back 50 burgers, Harden is averaging 42.2 points per game, 9.1 assists, 7.6 rebounds on a 63 true shooting percentage. I repeat, in his last 18 games, Harden is averaging 42.2 points per game, 9.1 assists, and 7.6 rebounds on a 63 true shooting percentage. That is absurd. If you dive deeper into this stretch, Harden is taking 15.3 three-point attempts per game while shooting 37.7% from that distance. 14.4 of those attempts are pull-up three-pointers, the highest in the NBA during this span. Second place in that category, Kemba Walker, with 6.1 pull-up three-point attempts per game. So Harden has more than doubled the second highest person on pull-up three attempts, and he is making 5.6 of them per game. On the whole season, Harden still leads the NBA in pull-up three-point attempts per game at a ridiculous 12.1 attempts. For context, over the last 5 seasons, the league leader in pull-up three-point attempts averaged no more than 7.4 attempts per game. These ridiculous numbers are also leading to wins. In the last 18 games, the Rockets are 13-5, and in 10 of those 18 games, the Rockets have faced a team that ranks in the top 10 in defensive rating. All of this is also happening with Eric Gordon not playing and just returning on Wednesday, Chris Paul getting hurt again, and now Clint Capella will be out 4 to 6 weeks with a thumb injury. Really? We haven't seen this type of offensive run since 2006 Kobe Bryant. And Harden's run might even be better. It's already a better offensive season than Kevin Durant's MVP season. I feel like I'm part of a 2% minority that actually enjoys watching Harden play basketball, and the way he sets up an offensive possession is something to watch. He'll find the mismatch he wants, calculates how he's going to attack with each passing rocker step dribble, and it almost always ends in a good shot or a foul. I want to start with his handle. I don't think Harden gets talked about enough as one of the best ball handlers in the league. In a very deliberate way, he measures up a defender with a few between-the-leg dribbles, and with that, he can combine his unparalleled ability to stop on a dime to really keep a defender on his heels. Harden almost always stops much faster than his defender, which puts that defender in a rubber band state. It almost looks like when you're playing an online video game with your friend and you have a better and faster connection to the server. Defenders also have to think an extra second longer than they need to because Harden is so good at drawing fouls, and that's another thing Harden can take advantage of. If a defender pulls his hands back, he gets by you a little easier. If a defender plays up more, Harden can do his patented step back, or he could cross you over or initiate contact. The defender is in a never-ending bind. Mix in the fact that Harden isn't just a great passer, but a genius passer, then that makes the entire defense fixate on one player that is putting their beloved teammate in a torture chamber. It seems like Harden is breaking down his options and doing a process of elimination in real time, kind of like Robert Downey Jr. in Sherlock.
First, distract target. Then block his blind jab. Counter with cross to left cheek. Discombobulate. Dazed, will attempt wild haymaker. Employ elbow block. And body shot. Block ferrule left. Weaken right jaw. Now fracture. break cracked ribs, traumatize solar plexus, dislocate jaw entirely, heel kick to diaphragm. In summary, ears ringing, jaw fractured, 3 ribs cracked, 4 broken, diaphragm hemorrhaging, physical recovery 6 weeks, full psychological recovery 6 months.
When I started preparing for this video earlier this week, I was going to have Giannis slightly ahead of Harden for MVP just because of the body of work from the start of the season to now, but I have to have Harden number 1. What he is doing is simply incredible. With all of the injuries, the stuff surrounding Carmelo Anthony, and the predictable regression the Rockets would have defensively this year, Harden is dragging this team kicking and screaming into the playoff standings in a stacked Western Conference. On the season, Harden is averaging 35.4 points per game, 8.5 assists, and 6.3 rebounds on a 62.1 true shooting percentage, which is a career high, by the way. Harden is one of 2 players since the NBA merger in 1976 to average at least 35 points per game, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds. The other is the usual suspect. Move the parameters to just Harden's averages, and he is the only player in history since the merger that is averaging at least 35 points per game, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds. It's an offensive season that is unique unto itself, and it's translating to wins. Harden is generating so many of the Rockets' points that he is shooting all the way up the MVP rankings in just a month. Now it's a 2-man race, and with the recent news that Capella is going to be out for 6 weeks at minimum, Harden is going to have to carry even more of a load, and if he is actually able to sustain this pace, just give him the MVP trophy right now. The injuries Houston has had to deal with to their main guys on the roster is concerning, but Harden's superhuman abilities are mitigating the effects as much as possible. However, it does make me wonder how long Harden can keep this up. And to be fair, I asked myself this same question about 8 games ago and it's still happening, so I could just be wrong. The Rockets have no choice though. You don't want to burn out Harden by the time the playoffs roll around, but if he doesn't play, the Rockets are going to lose. Looking ahead, it's hard to imagine that any team would want to face a fully healthy Rockets team in a playoff series. Chris Paul has lost a step, but to my eye, it looks like he is still getting to his sweet spots on the court. He's just not knocking shots down. I still think he has a year left of very good point guard play, assuming his hamstrings don't give out on him again. Austin Rivers is actually a solid pickup and a solid player, contrary to the internet jokes we see all the time about him only being in the NBA because of his dad. He could shoot threes, he can defend, and attack a closeout, which is all of the things required to be a role player on the Houston Rockets. I think Danuel House and his 2-way contract situation not being resolved is going to hurt the Rockets a little bit. House played 25 games in the rotation and was a good starter for them in the last 12 games. He hit 39% of his threes, was solid in attacking closeouts, and he made up for some of the lost Trevor Ariza, Luke Mbah-a-Moute wing defense that maybe the Rockets thought James Ennis would provide. I don't think James Nunnally, who signed a 10-day contract, is the answer to replacing even a little bit of House's production. Clint Capella was having a career year, although I do think he has taken a tiny step back in terms of switching on defense and protecting the rim, but that injury is still huge. The Rockets now have to patchwork their center rotation with Nene, Isaiah Hartenstein, and PJ Tucker. Eric Gordon came back, so that's going to help alleviate the load a little bit, but it's still going to be an interesting stretch to watch. I think when fully healthy, no one will want to see this Houston Rockets team in a 7-game series, even if they're not quite the same team as last year. Let me know if you agree. Is Harden the MVP? Is a fully healthy Rockets team still the second best team in the Western Conference? Comment in the section below, give the video a like, and if you like talking hoops, subscribe to the channel, and thanks for the support.